Hello and welcome to Gaming with Indie by Design. I'm Stace Harmon, and today, as you can see, we're going to be playing through the first hour or so of Day of the Tentacle Remastered. This is to celebrate the launch of this game, also Grim Fandango and Full Throttle Remastered on Xbox Game Pass. We've got videos up for those other games as well on our channel, so check those out. This is also to highlight a collaboration that we currently have running with Double Fine Productions, who are responsible for the creation of these remasters, and of course is headed up by Tim Schafer, who had a rather major hand in creating all three of those games. And the collaboration that we have going with Double Fine is a book project called 20 Double Fine Years, in which we chronicle Double Fine's past, we look at its present and explore its future as well. Talk to a lot of the people that work at Double Fine and their long-term collaborators, explore the art archives as well. And we're putting all that together in a book, and if that sounds like something you might be interested in, or you know somebody who might be interested in that, do check out more details and possibly put in a pre-order if you want to at doublefinebook.com. Let's get on with Day of the Tentacle here. So this is from 1993, this game. So this is shortly after Secret of Monkey Island, a little bit before Full Throttle, and a good few years, 5 years before Grim Fandango. So this is, of the three, this is kind of the most classic, I guess, of the point and click adventure games. This remastered version has this real cartoony vibe about it. It's just these exaggerated actions. I mean, that can't be good.
I don't think you should drink that. It looks bad for you.
Nonsense. It makes me feel great. Smarter. More aggressive. I feel like I could. Like I could. Like I could. Take all the world.
Oh dear.
Look, Hoagie, it's a hamster. Just what I need for dissection lab tomorrow.
I think I need that for the band, Laverne.
And here, of course, we see the original graphics and the original aspect ratio.
Hands off that hamster.
Friend of
You
yours.
can switch
Dad?
between the original
He
and the
belongs to Weird
remastered
Ed Edison, and it looks like he's brought us
graphics
a
at any
note.
point, which is pretty awesome.
It's from my old friend, Green Tentacle. He says that purple tentacles mutated into an
I think
insane
something
genius,
that I've found playing
and it's
through
going to kill them both.
Full Throttle and this game in particular, replaying through them, is how well the original art stands up. I think of course this looks smoother. It's characters are able to be perhaps slightly more expressive, but in terms of the sheer amount of character that was imbued, I mean, like, you don't need super high resolution graphics for that. There's just, this whole thing is an ode to character. Certainly the remastered music is awesome. There's also a charm to that original. I think if anybody has any memories of playing these kinds of adventure games in the 90s, there is definitely something very, not just nostalgic, but very just charming about that original art and that original almost chiptune style music. Which I think makes switching back and forth between kind of the remaster and the original, it's more than just a curiosity. Like, I think I'd happily play this game in its original dimensions and with the original art and music. It's not one of those situations where it just looks bad, like it... I'm trying to think of something like the equivalent, I don't know, like the Star Wars films, say, the prequel films, episodes 1 to 3. The heavy use of CGI in those really dates those. It becomes very apparent, really, I mean even at the time perhaps, but very quickly afterwards, whereas the original Star Wars films from late 70s, early 80s, with the far more physical model-based approach to the special effects work, they just stand up a lot better. They stand the test of time, and this is a similar thing. The touching point being Star Wars there for obvious reasons, because this is a LucasArts production, as Star Wars was a Lucas production as well.
I'll maintain Command HQ here in the lobby.
That means we have some opportunities for crossover and homage. I think we can say there's a few props that crop up in this game that belong to the Star Wars universe.
And I've got a show to set up later tonight. If I'm late, I don't get to test the drums.
If I know Dr. Fred, he's got the tentacles tied up in his secret lab. Question is, where's his secret lab?
Okay, so here we see the PlayStation controls. This is the standard default remaster controls. I'm actually playing on PC with an Xbox pad. I would imagine they'll probably update that for the Game Pass releases. Okay, so you can play this in two different ways. There's this kind of radial menu if you're using a controller, and also if you're playing in the remastered graphics. But you can also go back to the old style verb menu, which is just awesome. We're going to stick for the most part with the remastered version. Here we have a rather obvious reference.
Wow, it's from my favorite movie.
Subtle. So, as is the case with any good point-and-click adventure game, or rather I should say as any good point-and-click adventure game player knows, you really have to pick up everything that you can. Not everything that is interactive in this particular scene can be picked up. There is a dime on the floor over there, for example, stuck to the floor with bubblegum that we can't pick up right now. But everything else we're nabbing and putting in our bottomless pockets. Bernard is such a klutz.
Laverne, how'd you get upstairs?
Am I upstairs? I got lost.
Seen any tentacles?
What's a tentacle?
Oh, just something I whipped up in my spare time. Made good pets, actually, until one of them tried to take over the world. Had to tie the little buggers up in the
It's the thing about tentacles as
Good
pets.
thing you
You
told us
just
that.
never know when they're gonna mature and want to take over the world.
Thank God you weren't that stupid. Did you say Bernard?
Okay, you're free to go.
Thanks, Bernard.
Yes, thank you, naive human. Now I can finish taking over the world.
Wait!
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. He's incredibly evil, isn't he?
I'll try to talk him out of it.
Well, what possible harm could one insane mutant tentacle do?
Leaping lab rats!
Dr. Fred.
What have you done this time, you meddling milquetoast? Now Purple Tentacle is free to use his evil mutant powers to take over the world and enslave all humanity!
Whoops.
Our only hope now is to turn off my sludge-o-magic machine. and prevent the toxic mutagen from entering the river.
Isn't it a little late for that, Doctor?
Of course, that's why I'll have to do it yesterday through the time machine.
This is all your fault, Bernard.
Behold, children, the Chronogon.
Doc, can't you just send Bernard?
No, you must all go to increase the odds that one of you will make it there alive.
Have any people ever been hurt in this thing?
Of course not.
Casually tosses
This
that
is
in.
the first
Yeah.
time I've ever
We're just
tried
going
it
for
on
the brute
people.
force safety in numbers approach of the more people we send, the more likely it is that one of you will get there alive. I like all the kind of the big business reference there of oh, this awful thing has happened. I should probably turn off this machine that's pumping toxic sludge into the
Come
river
over here so I can
because a terrible thing has happened, rather than in order to prevent a terrible thing from happening. That's I think quite
What could it
insightful.
all mean?
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Die. Die.
We may not live to see
So a lot of this here that's happening
I'm
is
sure Dr.
basically
Fred wouldn't have
nods
done this if it
to
weren't safe.
After all, he
to
is
things that are going to come up
doctor.
later on in the game.
What? I can't believe
I think there's
it.
also a
And they said
Wizard of Oz
imitation
reference
diamond
there in the
wasn't good enough.
cackling witch. Oops.
Uh-oh.
Hoagie's such a dude. Kind of see him as the early day precursor to Eddie Riggs from Brutal Legend.
Cheap mail order jewels.
What happened to Hoagie and Laverne?
I knew I should have bought a real
So I didn't play through
Alive.
Day of the Tentacle all the way
And
through
I'll say that the larger
upon its
specimen
original
is
release. I
magnificent.
think actually the first time I played
And the other is stuck
Day of the
200
Tentacle, I played it
years
around the time it came out, but the first time I
Hurry up and
really
bring
played
them
it
back.
was
I will, as
when
soon as
the
I get
remaster
you
was released.
diamond.
Kind
Then all
of
your
skipped
buddies
over
have to do is
Day of the
plug in
Tentacle.
their
But
respective
something I remember
chromosomes.
Plug them in.
from playing it
Where is Hoagie going to find
initially
other
off the back of
show
Monkey
hours?
Island, and then again when I
200 years in the
explored it more on the remaster, was
Well,
how
it'll be
ambitious it
easy
felt
like
in
having a
comparison.
super battery
I
in
mean,
the
the Monkey Island games I love,
Now,
1 and
where
2
did I put
in
those
particular.
patented super battery
But it felt
plans
so much more ambitious, this
How are we gonna
multi-threaded
get Hoagie plans?
timeline,
Don't worry, me
where you're not
little
just
boy. Just
trying to solve things in past, present and future. You're actually interacting in all three of
Now
those
what am I going to
timelines
do?
as well. You can pass things back and forth through the different timelines in order to solve puzzles. So I think whereas the initial expectation might be that, oh, of course I have to
Step 2,
set things up in the past or do a certain number of actions in a certain way
get
in order to set something up for the future, is actually more than that. You can pick things up in the future and pass them back in time, and you need to do that in order to solve the puzzles. And that I remember feeling very very ambitious and quite a thing to kind of get my head round.
upstairs. That's got to be it. Upstairs.
But like all good adventure games, there's that idea that
I've got the plan.
everything that you need
We
is
have to
here.
pass them to Hoagie.
You just have to think
How do
about
you get
things in a
over
certain
there?
way. There's no time limit,
My
and it has that,
name is
part of the
Battery
game
that I
exists
feel.
outside of itself. So part of the game, part of the playing of these games is the
You really flushed them.
Yes.
time when you're just thinking about stuff.
No. Through time.
So you might get stuck.
Using the highly
You're stuck there staring at the screen, clicking on everything you can, trying to think about what you have in your inventory, how that might interact with other items, how that might interact with other characters in different timelines in this case. And then
Hello.
you might just be so stuck that you have to kind of walk away from it and just stop, and then it's that thing of later on it hits you. It's like, when you're thinking about something else, like, now maybe that would work. I could do that, and you kind of rush back. And so the game exists outside of itself and takes on this bigger presence.
I'm stuck in colonial times.
And yeah, I remember loving that, and particularly playing these games in a time when there wasn't internet. Monkey Island, particularly this, and then to a lesser extent Full Throttle, and then of course Grim Fandango was kind of 98, so we were all, well, we weren't all connected, but there was certainly internet was far more prevalent then than it was in 93 when this came out.
Great-great-great-grandfather. He'll know what to do.
You need the plans to make a super battery so you can...
I haven't checked, but
Okay, if you say so.
but I like the idea there that this great-great-great-great-grandfather, as he says multiple times, is actually accurate. I should kind of note that down and see how many there are and whether that would pan out to the 200 years that Hoagie's gone back in time. But I wouldn't be surprised if it is, but it probably works. Okay, so Hoagie, back in the past. So we have an inventory. We can switch back to Bernard at any point, and later, a bit later when we kind of unlock Laverne's path, we can also switch between her, Bernard, and Hoagie. So we're gonna just explore, see where we are. Curiously, there is a mummy.
What's up? Don't feel like talking, huh? Vow of silence or something, probably, right? Well, that's cool. Great hat, man. I know some dudes in a band who'd eat roaches for hats like that. Later, dude.
So as with many of these adventure games, there's this notion of like narrative as a reward and dialogue as a reward, often in the cases of these games, and exploring all of the options, all the dialogue options, is kind of a rite of passage. It serves multiple purposes. I think it's that thing of like, you're going to probably find something funny, something amusing. There's a horse up here, for example. But it's kind of baked into the game design, where that lets you know that you've exhausted everything that you need to with that particular path. You've kind of gone down all of the avenues, you've exhausted that, there's nothing else that they can say to you at that time that's going to kind of lead you to progress anywhere. So it's thank you, Hoagie. It's a way of just checking off the boxes to know, okay, I'm sort of compartmentalizing, I've done that particular bit. Okay, so we're up here ostensibly to pick up this red paint. We can do some other things here with the beds, but we're just gonna head down 400 years in the future from where Hoagie is. All of them are 200 years apart, so 400 years ahead from where Hoagie is and 200 years ahead from where Bernard is. So we're heading down now. Of course, playing this game for the first time, playing this game properly, as it were, you're going to explore a lot more of that house, and of course you do need to, ultimately you need to. But what I'm doing here is it's more or less just the critical path stuff. Okay, so this will hopefully serve as a guide. to give people some idea of what's going on. So we're going to be using the red paint with the kumquat tree because, of course, that's how you create a cherry tree. Now, reasons for wanting the kumquat tree to be a cherry tree are, of course, somewhat obtuse. But it's to do with this man in here. We're going to have a chat with a certain Mr. George Washington. I love the way the music kicks in there. Okay.
Excuse me. Yes?
Mr. Modern Major General.
What are you looking at out there? The future of our nation. That young couple by the tree? No. I was just admiring my reflection in the window. Striking, aren't I?
Indeed.
Whoa, you're like George Washington. Very much like him, according to my wife, Mrs. Washington. Awesome. Indeed. Is it true about you and the cherry tree? Oh yes, it's quite true. Why, I've cut down acres of cherry trees in my day.
So this, I believe, is in reference to I think it's actually a myth about George Washington, isn't it? I think that there was his father gave him an axe or a hatchet, I guess, rather than an axe, when he was a kid, and he damaged his father's cherry tree. And when asked about it, he said he cannot tell a lie. Yes, he did cause the damage to the tree, and his dad was so delighted that he was such an honest and upstanding young child that he embraced him and was like, yeah, your honesty is worth 1,000 cherry trees or something. I'm not sure. I think it's something to that effect. Unless there is some actual notion that George Washington cut down a lot of cherry trees. But I think it's in reference to that myth about him. And that apparently that was made up by his biographer later on. So this is one of those classic adventure game things where reverse psychology at its most basic level, in order for us to get somebody to do something that we want them to do, we say, I bet you can't do that, I bet you couldn't do that, even if you tried. And lo and behold, George Washington cuts down a cherry tree.
I said come down from there at once.
Try to understand. I'm stuck in this.
The significance of which means that Laverne is now free in the future, because the tree was cut down 400 years prior and now no longer exists. And now we have access to Laverne.
Out of here! I haven't done anything.
Well, you must have done something or you wouldn't be here now, would you? You'd be out in the lobby with your tentacle owner, getting dressed up for the human show.
Owner? No one owns me.
Gosh, no owner, you say? Well, don't worry about it. I'm sure someone will come adopt you before we have to put you to sleep.
Damn that Dr. Fred.
Hey, she knows the Edison family motto.
So there's a whole load to unpack there. So we're in the future where Purple clearly has achieved his plans for world domination, and so this is a future in which tentacles rule and humans are their pets. And there's some sort of talent show going on, I guess, a bit like a human equivalent of Crufts, where the tentacle owners are going to put their human pets through their paces. And also, as you heard at the end there, Laverne curses Dr. Fred's name, and these are members of his family or his well, some of his offspring, at least. And yeah, apparently, damn, that Dr. Fred has become something of a family motto because he's caused so much grief. Even though it was actually Bernard. Bernard played a significant part in that by freeing the tentacles, but still, I guess if it wasn't for Dr. Fred polluting the river with toxic waste, then this wouldn't have happened. Okay, so there's a few things that we need to do.
Yoo-hoo, Mr. Tentacle Guy.
Here.
What?
Laverne is just she's so ludicrously offbeat and just spaced out. So we're going to tell him that...
I don't feel so good.
It just doesn't feel so good.
I'm going to throw up all over.
Uh-oh. Time to visit Dr. Tentacle.
Well, well, what have we here?
I feel pukey.
Indeed. All right, now hold still.
Are you gonna use your scalpel?
No, of course not.
Darn. Do you want to use mine?
No.
What? What?
Just as I suspected.
What?
There's nothing wrong with you, human.
What a letdown.
Well, I'm late for the show. I'll send your people back for you.
I like that narrative consistency where it's so...
Good boy.
it's such a given that humans would have owners that it doesn't even occur to Dr. Tentacle that that wouldn't be the case, and he says, I'll send your human owner back to get you. Which works for us because it means we can grab this tentacle chart off the wall while we're here. We're going to head back.
Hey, how'd you get out? Get back in there. I wish Dr. Tentacle would stop losing patience.
Okay, so we now have the tentacle
Yoo-hoo,
chart.
Mr. Tentacle Guy.
What?
I have to go to the bathroom.
Ha, that's a good one. Imagine a human using a bathroom. Come on, let's take a walk. Okay, human, do your business.
Nice. Do your business on the lawn. And of course what we're actually here for is to...
There's something in the chronojohn.
give the tentacle chart to Hoagie. Now, if we switch back to Hoagie here...
Soon all the power of the heavens will be mine! All mine! If only we had some nasty weather!
Okay, so this tentacle chart, believe it or not,
I told you guys
it's going to be useful in creating a flag.
As fast as I can.
Hey, chill. Take your time.
Don't tell me you've got another design change for the flag.
I've got another design change for the flag.
I knew it. What's the current brainstorm from our fickle founding fathers?
How about a skull with, like, scorpions in its mouth?
Oh, what the heck. At this point, I'd do anything just to have it over with. Put the pattern on the table, and I'll look at it when I'm done with this job.
Yes, ma'am, Betsy Ross. Okay, so the tentacle flag is born. Now, I love the idea that for the next 400 years, that is the flag of the United States of America. And nobody ever thinks that's odd. No, or at least not odd enough to change it. We just say, yep, that's cool. That's a tentacle flag.
So as soon as Hoagie gets that battery working, we're set.
I'm afraid not. We still need a diamond for the main unit. And your friend in the future needs power too, if she's still alive.
Alive?
Okay. So this is ostensibly to get a tentacle costume for Laverne so that she can walk around with impunity in the future. Now I believe that I should be able to just send this to Laverne from here. Cool. While we're here, we will also send a couple of things to Hoagie. And then let's head back and see how Laverne's getting on. Okay, so she now has the crank handle.
Yoo-hoo, Mr. Tentacle Guy.
It's about time.
Oh, but guess what?
Yoo-hoo, Mr. Tentacle Guy.
What?
Not feeling so good.
Ooh, I don't feel so good.
Again?
Okay. So the benefit here is that this is all, of course, the same house, or the same building at least, which gets repurposed from way back when, 400 years prior from where Laverne is now. So the geography or the architecture of that house is the same throughout, and so understanding that helps kind of just to navigate slightly easier. And so, of course, the fireplace leads to the roof in all of the timelines. So we can now use the crank handle with the crank box, because evidently that's the only way to get that flag. And now, Laverne is a tentacle, complete with awesome hair. Okay, so we need to pick up a few bits and pieces here.
Hey, boy, you missed the party.
You and the clown were having a party?
No, last night. At the Novelty Good Salesmen's Convention. I tell you, we Novelty Good Salesmen know how to have a good time.
So where is everybody?
The really big bash was last night. I guess they're all sleeping it off. So, want a cigar?
Sure, lay one of those Havanan babies on me.
Thought I was gonna blow your head off there, didn't you? Well, you were right.
Funny guy.
You shouldn't smoke. It's a a bad habit. That cracks me up every time.
Okay, so we've opened this grate over on the left here because that's the way that we're going to trap these false teeth, of course. Just close the grating, be responsible citizens. So as is often the case with adventure games, it's simply, if you don't know what to do, you pick everything up. That's just kind of rule one. Work out how to use it later. Okay, we're going to head down here and give Dr. Fred a bit of a caffeine break. Give him some decaf.
Thanks. I needed a little pick-me-up.
And so dependent on caffeine has he become that as soon as he has decaf, he falls asleep. And we learn from Nurse Edna upstairs that
Provide for family.
when he's asleep, he sleepwalks, and he seems to keep returning to this safe that he has in his office. So we're going to use that to our advantage in just a little bit. Before that, though, we're going to head upstairs. Check out some of these rooms.
This beautiful 4,000-carat diamond can be yours today for the special rock-bottom introductory price of $2 million. The number to call is 1-800-STAR-WARS. Don't miss this amazing once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Another Star Wars Easter egg. I think we were talking a bit about that in the Full Throttle Remastered video. That one of the benefits of having Star Wars and these classic point-and-click adventures under one roof at Lucas, way back in the day, in the 90s, that they were basically free to reference that stuff because it was all their own property. I don't think it would be as easy to do that now. Okay, so we've just turned on the TV, we've learned about the diamond. Dr. Fred mentioned earlier that we need to get a diamond as well as everything else in order to power the chronojons to try and get everybody back into the same timeline. So we now have some idea of where we might get a diamond from for just a few $1 million. We turn the TV off again simply because that's one of the achievements. If you turn the TV on, then off, you get an achievement for conserving energy, which I think is nice.
It's useless. No one will ever be interested in my design, so I'm ending my novelty inventing career right here in this tacky motel. How appropriate.
That's pretty dark.
I can't even do this right.
Not funny enough.
Green!
Bernard,
What are you doing up here?
Well, I couldn't stop Purple, and he's gonna go out and conquer the world, and I'm afraid of what he'll do if he catches me, if Dr. Fred doesn't find me first. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Hey,
What's up, Bernard?
want to help me save the world?
I'm afraid to leave the room. In fact, I don't think I can even move from this spot. Purple scares the daylights out of me.
How's your new band doing?
Green tea and the sushi platter? We're doing great. We've decided to really capitalize on our strongest quality as a band.
Carefully crafted melody and distinctive counterpoint?
Volume, man, volume. We have a chance to win a Grimey Award as the loudest new band. We're pulling out all the stops.
Have you gotten any airplay?
No, we're a little too experimental for most radio stations, but we have a huge following in the club scene.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you suppose Purple's up to now?
Well, he wants to take over the world, so I figure he's up to something devious.
Pushing old ladies down the stairs?
I wouldn't doubt it, but I was thinking more along the lines of politics.
See you later.
Yeah! Good luck in saving the world, B-Man.
So there's actually a reference there to something that we need to do in a little while with Bernard. Perhaps Bernard and Purple are more closely related than Bernard would like to believe, because he needs to push an old lady down the stairs in order to progress. Before that, though, let's...
Wow, this is loud.
Let's get this fake vomit. I think we will just turn this back off.
Whew.
Okay, so let's just pop upstairs. So there's two doors. We're going to need to go in both of these.
Aren't you Weird Ed Edison, the paramilitary nut?
Why, yes, Hey, do I know you?
Yeah, I'm Bernard Bernoulli. I broke into your house 5 years ago, kidnapped your hamster, broke into your piggy bank.
Nope, doesn't ring a bell, but I can't remember much about that period anyway. My psychotherapist thinks something traumatic happened to me back then that I'm blocking out.
Does it have anything to do with a hamster?
All I know is that I used to have a cute white hamster with spots, and now I have a cute brown one with no spots. It used to worry me, and the nightmares would come. I'm much better now. I don't have those bad thoughts anymore. Now I collect stamps.
Nice hamster. Does he do tricks?
No, he just sits there. I used to have a really smart hamster, but something happened to him.
Probably best that Bernard doesn't push this line of inquiry, seeing as he was the one that triggered some of the controversial things that he's alluding to happen. So I think we'll just leave.
Bye.
Peace be with you.
Before we do that, though, just for old time's sake, we'll pick up the hamster. There is also a fairly well-known Easter egg here, not really at all hidden. You can play
Jeepers.
Maniac Mansion, the original. I believe in its entirety. I've not tried, but I believe you can play the entire thing. There's Bernard. Along with the classic music. So yes, you can play through Maniac Mansion if you so desire. You can even save it and come back and finish it off later rather than having to do it all in one go. We, in the interests of expediting some of this playthrough, we're not gonna spend that time doing that now. But that is a thing that you can indulge in. I have not checked, but I can well imagine that there would be an achievement for doing that if you so wish. And that's kind of the old school equivalent of the Maniac Mansion graphics. We are seemingly, rather cruelly, going to...
I'm sorry to do this to you, little fella, but it's for the future of the whole planet.
Mm-hmm. Chill out, dude. Okay. Fake bath. Okay, so we've now got a whole bunch of stuff here with Bernard. We're going to be sending a textbook, and then we want all of the stuff. The Boo Boo Begone. The fork, the teeth, and the bath. To Laverne. Okay, so there is a couple of other things that we can do here. We can head up and speak to Nurse Edna and find out. Through doing that, we discover that we need to get her out of the room that she's in, which is a load of video cameras. She's monitoring video cameras feeds. But to get her out of the room, we try and push her out of the room, basically push her down the stairs. And she kind of grabs onto the statue that's by the door. So we need to change, somehow either remove the statue or change the statue so that she can't do that. So we're going to head back to Hoagie, who has got a bunch of stuff now, including a flyer here.
George says that every American should have a vacuum cleaner in their basement.
Okay.
Hey.
What is it?
You look kind of familiar.
Of course I do. I'm Red Edison, the inventor, not to mention owner of this inn. Perhaps you've seen my picture in some important scientific journal. Then again, maybe not.
Do you know Ben Franklin?
Franklin? I would never associate with that overstuffed goofball. He has the stupidest idea about glasses with one red lens and one blue one.
What are you doing?
I'm inventing, you simpleton. What's it look like I'm doing?
I know an inventor who looks a bit like you.
Well, it's not one of my sons, that's for sure. It appears that I, Red Edison, foremost genius of my day, am to be the last in a long line of gifted inventors. My nearly indistinguishable sons have decided that they want to be artists. I think it was Jed's idea. Or is it Ned? Ah, well, the left-handed one at any rate. Must be some sort of bad blood of their mother's side.
Well, see you later.
You might if you cut that hair a bit shorter.
Okay, so ostensibly we're here to give a patent application to Red Edison.
Super battery, eh? Brilliant design. Sometimes I amaze myself. Now all I need is oil, vinegar, and some gold.
It's the classic 3-item shopping list for video game tasks. We're also, while we're here, let's give him this help wanted sign.
What's this? Help wanted, moronic drone, assist genius, yada yada yada. Well, I'm the only genius around, and you look dumb enough. So pick up your lab coat and get to work.
Cool, thanks.
Say, that's a left-handed hammer, you know. I invented it myself. It was for my ungrateful slob of a left-handed son. Oh, well.
In true Hoagie fashion, despite being told to get straight to work, I'm going to slack off.
How about an amendment that the president has to be a human being?
Please, this is serious business.
You're right.
If only they could have foiled Purple's plans with that amendment. So while we're here, why don't, and they're collecting suggestions for potential amendments to the Constitution, I think this idea that everybody should have a vacuum cleaner is a sound one.
Boy, it's sure quiet in here. I wonder if there might be any ideas worth discussing in the suggestion box. Maybe somebody should take a look. I say, lads, I have an idea.
Does it have anything to do with starting a fire?
No. I was thinking it's about time we open the suggestion box. Don't you agree?
Sure, George, if you say so.
Yes, whatever you think is fine with us.
Excellent.
What's he thinking? No one of any importance has been here all day. What could be in the suggestion box?
Perhaps he intends to suggest something himself.
Oh.
Here's a suggestion. It says, George says that every American should have a vacuum cleaner in their basement. What do you think, gentlemen?
Whatever you say, George.
Your name's on it. I'm sure you must have a good reason for suggesting it.
Yes, it's strange. I don't quite... Well, I'm sure I had a reason for it. If there are no objections, we shall add it to the Constitution immediately. No? Good, and so shall it be law.
What's a vacuum cleaner?
A You Suck vacuum cleaner. Awesome. Okay, so this is George's bed. George Washington's bed. We're going to give it a bump.
Here I am, don't get your curls in an uproar. Excuse me, Mr. Washington. Boy, what a mess.
Okay. We can combine these two things, the bucket of water with the soap.
The water's all sudsy now.
Yeah, it's fairly uncontroversial for an adventure game. Soap and water.
Hey, tall, dark, and spiffy, my name's Hoagie.
Well, how quaint. I am, of course, Thomas Jefferson, noted scholar, musician, horseman, student of the sciences, member of the bar.
Oh, sure, I've heard of you, dude. What's in the can, Tommy?
Thomas. My name is Thomas, and this, my chubby friend, is a time capsule, filled with remembrances of our time to be revealed 400 years hence.
That's convenient. Who do we know who is 400 years hence?
So, how's the time capsule going?
I'm sorry to say that except for my log, we haven't got a thing.
Later, brah.
What? What's going to happen later?
Okay. So there's a few other things that we can do here. I think there's one particular bit that I'd like to get to, which is the videotape bit, because I remember that thinking that was really cool when I first saw it. Now to get that, we need to head up and go and see Dr. Fred's sons.
Question is, which one's stuffed and which one's the real McCoy?
I assure you that we are both real, but we are neither one of us McCoys. We are Edisons, Ned and Jed.
Who's who?
Does it really matter? Even our dear father can't tell us apart. He only knows that one of us is left-handed while the other is right, but that neither of us are following in his tiny scientific footsteps. Hold still, Jed. So, I'm almost too frightened to ask, are you the marble delivery man? Or the model?
That's too good an opportunity to pass up.
I'm the model. Should I take my clothes off now?
No. No, you most definitely should not. We couldn't get your body shape right anyway, unless we cemented 2 slabs of marble together. But then your statue would have a big seam in it.
That's okay. It would have one anyway.
Look, don't call us. We'll call you.
Dang. Sorry, hope I haven't jostled you.
Too late.
Okay, so in order to achieve what we need to, we're going to swap the right-hand hammer with the left-hand hammer, which looks almost indistinguishable.
Oh no!
Except it makes him whiff his hits.
Oh, where hath gone the muse that once guided my hand with such care? Must inspiration be so transitory? Must art be so cruel? I'm a failure. Don't say that, Ned. Father was right. We Edisons are made to be scientists, not artists. Dear brother, We must be strong in these times of creative adversity. Why don't you let me take over for a while? I'll clean this rubble up and start over. You relax. Have a cappuccino. I'm glad we switched places. I think you're coming out quite well.
And so the key thing here is that the statue goes from being a left-handed statue to a right-handed statue because the brothers switch places, which means when we push Edna out of the door, she can't grab onto the statue's sword arm, which was the one that was closest to the door. So let's test that theory. Actually, just before we do that, there is one thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the use of the timelines, the interplay. I mean, evidently it's clear that happens. You go through kind of messing with things in one timeline and passing them back and forth. And I think it's a very simple, I guess, but it's quite it's a concise example, and I think it works quite well here. So we pick up this wine bottle. Now, remembering that one of the component parts that Dr. Fred, or Red Edison rather, requires in this timeline in order to make this super battery, which we need to power the chronogon, is vinegar. So we take the wine from this timeline and we're going to send that wine. No, we're not going to send it to Laverne, are we? That's not right. Laverne sends it back to Hoagie. What we're going to do instead is suggest that we put the wine bottle in the time capsule.
Thank you. This is exactly the sort of thing I need for the time capsule. I'll bury it tonight, and it won't be seen for hundreds of years. Future generations are in your debt.
Whoa.
And so he buries the time capsule. That then gets dug up 400 years in the future, in Laverne's timeline. And unsurprisingly, all that's happened to that wine in that meantime is that it has turned to vinegar. And so then Laverne can send it back in time to Hoagie to use. And that idea of taking something from this timeline, finding a way to use it, because just sending to Laverne is not enough, because that just sends it in, it's like handing it to her. So it has to be something where time has to be allowed to take its course, run its course, as it does with the time capsule. Then Laverne finds the wine, it's now vinegar, and she sends it back to Hoagie. I like that it's a very neat kind of cyclical idea there, and that kind of sums up a lot of the challenge and a lot of the way of thinking that you need to do in order to play this game. And I think it's quite a neat example. Another of them is this statue. It's not. I think what I like about the wine example is that it comes full circle. It starts with Hoagie and ends with Hoagie. This is something that Hoagie does in order to help Bernard. We'll just have a quick chat with Edna.
Excuse me. What is it? I'm rather. Say, aren't you Bernard Bernoulli?
You must have me confused with some other Bernard Bernoulli.
No, you're the one. You broke into our mansion a few years ago to save your little friend. What did you come for this time?
I'm trying to keep a tentacle from conquering the world.
Really? How nice.
Thanks.
How's Dr. Fred doing?
Well, he's still upset about the family financial situation, seeing that it's his fault and all. But he seems a lot better now that he stopped sleepwalking.
And so this is where we would find out, had we spoken to her previously, that he sleepwalks. And when he sleepwalks, he opens his safe, which you can see him doing on the monitor, dutifully waiting for us, which is quite kind.
I'll let you get back to what you were doing.
Come back any time, you big hunk.
There's a lot of unhinged people in this game. Okay, so we're going to give Nurse Edna a shove. Now, had we not changed the statue, she goes out the door, grabs hold of the statue on the way out, and kind of catapults herself back in. But because we've made that simple change of, with Hoagie swapping the hammers over, the brothers swapped over, which meant that the brother being sculpted was the right-handed brother, which changes where the sword is, which means it's harder for her to grab hold of the arm. So that's a neat little solution. But yeah, this was one of my favourite puzzles, I think, because I remember feeling clever when working it out. Okay, so we're going to record Dr. Fred opening his safe. He's sleepwalking. Apparently when he sleepwalks, he opens his safe. So we're just recording him doing that. Now, he enters the combination so quickly that we don't get to see it.
Internal Revenue. Come with us. We'd like to go over some of your records with you. Upstairs.
And then the IRS turn up. So now what we can do is rewind, switch this over to EP, and it effectively plays in slow motion. And we find the combination to be 57 101 999, or perhaps it's 101 999 57.
Dr. Fred Edison, Internal Revenue. Come with us.
Okay.
Tapes at the end.
So we now know the combination.
Let's see, it's 101 999 57.
That gets us the contract.
The party of the first part shall hereby be known as a crazed maniacal genius.
That's how every good contract should start. Okay, so that is somewhere around the first hour of Day of the Tentacle Remastered. There's obviously a lot more going on. There's a lot more shenanigans with the timelines, of passing things back and forth. And one of the things I think I really liked about this game was how coherent it all is, despite it being something of a rewiring of the mind required to kind of work out exactly which bits interact with which, far more so than a sort of a typical adventure game for the time. And so yeah, that's we've just played through around about the first hour. It's probably another couple of hours or so, perhaps not quite, hour and a half there or thereabouts. If you know what you're doing. I mean, this can be quite a long game if you're playing it through for the first time. So if you haven't checked out Day of the Tentacle previously, consider picking this up. You can play it in both with the original graphics or the remastered ones, and also check out, we've got both Full Throttle and Grim Fandango remastered videos for those up on the channel as well, so have a look at those. These are kind of semi walkthrough, semi commentary based videos that we sort of go into a bit more detail on the Full Throttle one, and also on the Grim one there's discussion of conversations that we had with Peter Chan and Peter McConnell earlier this year for the book project that we have going on with Double Fine, which is 20 Double Fine years. You can find out more about that at doublefinebook.com. But for the meantime, check out those other videos on the channel. If you want to hit us up on social media, you can. We are at Indie by Design pretty much everywhere. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you've played Day of the Tentacle, if you're intending to check it out now that it's released on Xbox Game Pass. And until next time, stay safe.